Hey guys, this is Jay Calderon with Jay Unboxing here, giving you a personal prediction for Kid Galahad versus Kiko Martinez. Also, I'll be giving a quick pick for the junior lightweight title clash between Terri Harper and her 130-pound counterpart Alycia Baumgardner that takes place on the undercard. And as always, these are just my takes. Your predictions can be left down in the comments section below. Would love to hear them all. So, starting with a little bit of fight info here for the main event, we have Kid Galahad versus Kiko Martinez taking place at the Sheffield Arena in Sheffield, England. This will be airing live on DAZN in the featherweight division with the IBF version of the title possessed by Galahad on the line. Now, to be fair, this may not be the most interesting fight near the end of 2021, which is jam-packed with a lot of interesting fights. Martinez is a bit shop-worn, and Galahad seems to be right smack dab in the middle of his prime. The only way this fight is really exciting, some would suggest, is if Galahad stops his aging foe in a very dramatic style, or if an upset occurs. Both outcomes seem kind of hard to fathom to some degree. Still, it's good to see Galahad getting busy and in some action before the year end, and it'll be interesting to see just how solid a performance he intends to put in. Without much more ado, let's get into the breakdown. Starting with Galahad here, I think for Galahad to win, he needs to control Martinez's pressure with the jab. That's going to be very important because if he's just allowing Martinez to come in, it becomes a much more rough and rugged fight. Martinez is a shorter fighter. If he's leading with his head and potentially coming in and causing cuts or severe damage, just roughing him up in general, that's not a good sign for Galahad, and it makes his job of trying to box clean and neat significantly harder. He's going to want to make sure that he controls him with that jab, peppers him, makes him think about coming in, and just begins to bust him up as the rounds wear on. This will, of course, allow for Galahad to, of course, score more as the fight progresses and ensure that he stays in the best physical shape as possible. I would also say don't let Martinez take control on the inside. And this kind of, again, is an extension of that initial point in that you don't want to have Martinez coming in and you want to keep him out there with the jab, but when he does come in on the inside, which will inevitably happen, you want to make sure you're turning him, you're angling him, you're getting him off to the side, you're, hitting that corner so that you can counter him and make him pay for coming in. At worst, you're potentially having to hold or potentially jostle with him on the inside just to make his work ineffective and make sure that you stay clean in the pocket. Ultimately, you're effectively much like a NFL quarterback in the sense that you want a nice clean pocket, and when you throw, you want to be ready to throw and that you're in a position to do so by not having to field so much of the pressure that you feel coming from Martinez. And finally, time the right uppercut. I think especially with the shorter fighter like Martinez coming in, sometimes recklessly, sometimes in a sort of swimming motion with his kind of arms flailing a little bit and his head down that way, if you time that right uppercut, it could pay dividends as it might have that kind of double impact you're looking for with your force meeting his force. This is a shot that I think has the best chance for Galahad to really hurt his man because Galahad's not a huge puncher, but if he's able to time this right uppercut consistently, it could be a shot that inevitably Martinez doesn't see coming and could have the sort of effect you're looking for if you're trying to get your man out of there. Now, for Martinez to win, I think he needs to worry about pressure, pressure, pressure. It seems obvious, but that at this point in his career is what matters. He's 35 years old. He's not going to be taught any new tricks in terms of kind of adding sprinkles of nuance to his game. Ultimately, what he's going to need to do is he's going to make sure that he's applying the right kind of pressure to get in there on the inside, rough up Galahad, make the fight messier, allow himself to swing with his shorter arms, and potentially land something that changes the fight in his favor. If he stays on the outside, he gets his ears boxed off, and obviously that's not what he should be looking to get done. Also, be willing to take a jab to get inside. And that's very important, again, kind of alluding to that initial point where he needs to be on the inside. And Galahad, with a very slick style and a very, very sophisticated jab, is going to mean that Martinez has to be willing to take a few shots. If he isn't willing to do that, which again, you can become gun shy and you can become punch shy as you get a little bit older, if he's not willing to do that, I don't see how he wins this fight. He at some point will have to just accept he's going to eat a few jabs and he has to be willing to do so to get inside and allow himself to have the best chance to win. He doesn't have tremendous head movement. It's going to happen. He has to be willing to accept that. And finally, land hooks to the body. When you're inside, yes, you're going to want to throw some shots upstairs, but that leaves you vulnerable. Yes, you're going to want to throw jabs. You're going to want to throw right hands or left hands upstairs and land some power shots, and that can come in time. But I think to start that off, you need to land to the body. This does a few things. It slows down Galahad. It also makes sure that it zaps some of the speed out of him, which he, again, has a speed advantage. But if you're able to do that, it lowers that guard, allows you to throw some shots upstairs, and it makes a lot of the other areas where Galahad has advantages a little bit closer to null and void if you can continue to punish his midsection. Now, in terms of my pick, I would have had a hard time picking Martinez to beat Galahad in his prime, much less at the tender age of 35. At featherweight, 35 years old matters. Martinez might make it tough early on, but the skill of Galahad will frustrate the fight out of him, so to speak, as the fight rolls on. Eventually, Galahad will be landing solid jabs and right hands with more regularity and really putting in a showcase performance. I can imagine Galahad forcing a corner retirement, but I'll give Martinez the benefit of the doubt that he hears the final bell, only to be defeated by wide margins. Galahad via unanimous decision. Wide unanimous decision. And as mentioned, we also have a 130-pound title bout between the females known as Terri Harper and Alycia Baumgardner for the former's version of the title at 130 pounds. Give you a little bit of a breakdown here. For Terri Harper, I think she will want to apply some pressure, but she wants to do it intelligently. That means she's going to want to use some head movement, throw some jabs to get started and kind of blind her foe, and then get inside that way, not just walking straight in. When Harper does find herself inside, she will want to let her hands go quite a bit and make sure Baumgardner has to pay for letting her stay inside and really forcing her to work, which Baumgardner has not shown an ability to do. It's not to say she can't, but she has to be willing to make sure she tests Baumgardner in that way. Get her into the ropes, push her back, and you can have even more success. She should look to avoid exchanging at range. That's one area where I know that Baumgardner will likely have the advantage. Alycia might just have a hair more power, and letting her hands go and letting her land with full extension could be trouble for Harper, who has been tagged and hurt by shots from range in the past. For Alycia Baumgardner, I think she will want to back up, but not in such a predictable straight line. She will want to circle, counter over the top of the oncoming Harper's shots, and make her pay for her mistakes, make her miss. This doesn't mean that she can't get into exchanges at all, but not right away. She will want to pepper her foe at first, kind of get into her own rhythm, and then ramp up the pressure as the fight progresses. The primary shot she could look to start that all with will obviously be the left hook to the body. She has a very, very solid one, perhaps even underrated to some extent. And this will take some sting out of Harper's shots and slow her momentum down. It means she won't want to always come in, and when she does, she might be less effective. This will also lower that guard, and the shots upstairs will begin to pay dividends for Baumgardner if she decides to let them go. Now, in terms of my picks here, I'm actually going against the odds. I have Baumgardner winning a close decision. Could be tricky, but I think she can do it. This could go either way, but I think the difference could be power in this fight, and I think Alycia has a bit more, as I mentioned, to offer in that department. Alycia will do well to score from range, but the work rate of Harper will perhaps have her run out to a small lead early on. But in the middle rounds, I think the power shows up and Baumgardner stuns and possibly drops Harper. Down the stretch, with more of a grasp in the fight and a more timid Harper, Baumgardner counters and boxes well, earning a close decision. So my pick is Alycia Baumgardner via close split decision victory. Now, the betting odds, of course, have Galahad as a huge favorite over Martinez. He's coming in at a minus 1450 to Martinez's plus 750, so you definitely have some wide odds there. Again, if you like a pressure fighter and want something of a bet that's fun and kind of gives you a reason to be excited for the fight, lay a small bet you're willing to lose on Martinez. Why not? But to me, no money line is really worth it in this particular fight. They're just too wide of margins. There's no real value there for me personally. You maybe might think of an over-under in this fight. Again, that's really up to you as to which side of that over-under you fall upon. But for the most part, I think it's a decision, so an over would make sense there. But money lines are something I'm staying away from. In terms of the Harper-Baumgardner lines, I'm pretty interested in the plus 300 you have for Baumgardner. Harper's coming in at a minus 455, which again, she is the favorite. She has been a champion, is a champion currently, so it makes sense she is. But I do have a sneaky suspicion Baumgardner can pull this one off. Again, the circumstances make that this fight is difficult to say will be scored exactly the way that I might view it or that you might view it. So you want to be careful with how much of a bet you're willing to lay down here. But If you have a little bit of cash and you are fairly confident in Baumgardner like I am, might be a bet that you're interested in taking. Again, though, that fight can go either way, in my opinion. Nonetheless, my prediction record heading into the weekend is 39-15-3 with 12 exact. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I'd love to hear all your thoughts, predictions, bets, so on and so forth. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. We'd love to hear all your thoughts, predictions, bets, so on and so forth. Do you call any kind of upsets for this card itself? Would be interesting to hear your thoughts there, of course. I also have a piece written up on Jaime Munguia and the sort of year I'd like to see him have in 2022. That's going to have a link down in the description box. Would love it if you guys gave that a bit of a read. Please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and follow at jcalderon_JOB on Twitter, and you can email me at junboxing@gmail.com. Would love to hear from you all there. Also, be sure to check out junboxing.com for schedule results, betting odds, rankings, all that good stuff. And as always, until next time.